Left to Wonder by Bradley Goodine. As we sat on the porch that summer night, Megan whispered, "The doctor says I have 6 months." My heart sank. I've been following her fight with cancer, but was not prepared for this update. I grabbed her hand tightly as my eyes welled with tears. I said a prayer out loud for her with all the sincerity and faith I had left. She squeezed my hand even tighter. Soon after that, Megan buzzed off her dark brown hair, bracing herself for treatment. She joined the group at our church that provided support for members with serious illnesses. She even started juicing organic produce around the clock to help her body heal itself. My hippie mother loaned Megan her encyclopedia-sized book of natural health. Megan had what we called in church a past. She grew up in a wealthy, dysfunctional East Coast family. Hard drugs had consumed her life in school, and after getting busted for dealing lighter stuff at work, she moved to our conservative university in an effort to go straight. She joined our youth outreach team where her unpredictable, wildly inappropriate behavior immediately endeared her to my group of friends. In the weeks that followed, I became alert to cancer in a new way. Like when you learn a word for the first time and then you hear it like 5 times and toss it around to a conversation the following week. Now the disease was immediately affecting my life. I paid careful attention to every story about it. Most notably, a grad student named Sarah visited my church group one week. Sarah had been in remission, but recently discovered that her cancer was back in full force. The charismatic group turned the meeting into a 2-hour prayer service with her. I spent the whole time zoned out, thinking about the disease, about Megan. Ever since that tearful night outside on the couch, I noticed a shift in Megan's behavior toward me. She started sitting closer to me at lunch. She laughed too loudly at my jokes. She would make our hugs longer and lingering, and then let out a long Friends confirmed Megan had feelings for me, and strong ones. As a closeted male, 2 years away from coming out to my first friends, this was a nightmare. I normally responded to attention from girls by shutting down and running away, but this was different. This was Megan. Also, I couldn't be a dick to the girl with cancer. Despite the obvious allure of our story playing out like the movie A Walk to Remember, I could bring myself neither to openly accept nor reject her affection, so I pretended that I hadn't noticed. And one day Megan ran up to me in hysterics. She nearly shouted, "Apparently, this girl Sarah has been getting help from the same ministry as me and going around to all the small groups that the church is asking for prayer for cancer, which it turns out she does not have." I was shocked that anyone would lie about that. I was so upset that my small group had wasted 2 hours praying for a fake disease while I zoned out. "And now," Megan continued, "the church leaders are demanding that I prove that I have cancer. They're treating me and everyone else in the group like liars." As if having cancer wasn't enough, her support base had turned on her too. Swallowing my fears of how she would interpret my actions, I wrapped my arms around her and held her tightly and assured her that she still had plenty of love and support. As fall arrived, Megan seemed to be doing well health-wise, but her flirtations kept getting more serious. One day, after a particularly long goodbye hug, followed by the standard drawn-out sigh, I received an email from Megan. It began, "Dear Ratifier, since you have become increasingly important to me in the last few months, I wanted to share something with you that I have never shared with anyone before." And she attached her poetry. Things had clearly spiraled out of control, and I knew I had to do something. I did nothing. For 5 days. Then sent a crisp, "Super cool, Megs! Thanks for sharing! See you soon!" Megan didn't write me back. Sources reported that she sensed a cold shoulder and went into mourning. Then 3 weeks later, completely out of nowhere, Megan dropped out of school and moved to London and announced on Facebook that she's a lesbian and moved in with her new girlfriend, Helen. My romantic crisis had solved itself. This by no means made Megan the first closeted lesbian to fall in love with me, while I myself was also closeted. There were 3. Megan stopped talking to everyone back in America. We no longer received updates about her health and pictures of her and Helen online. However, she appeared to be doing well. Cancer continued to hold my attention, but along with the standard accounts, I kept coming across stories like Sarah's of people faking cancer. A worship leader at a massive church in Australia that I admired and followed closely had written a song based on his struggle with cancer. It proclaimed that God is our healer, and churches all over the world were singing it. The church produced a video of him singing the song on stage in front of a crowd of thousands while tubes connected his nose to an oxygen tank that stood next to him. When he was caught, he blamed his lying on his addiction to pornography. In our area, yet another woman had held community fundraisers to help with the cost of her cancer treatment. Turns out she wanted a boob job. As I came across these bizarre stories and reflected on their experience with Sarah and thought about how all of this affected Megan, something snapped in me. In an instant, the pieces of the story irreversibly rearranged themselves in my mind. I had no proof that Megan lied about having cancer. It's entirely conceivable that the medication had worked, or that the juicing had helped her body heal itself. Maybe my prayer that night on the porch came through. But as 6 months came and passed, then a year, then 2, then 3, thoughts nagged at my brain. Why hadn't Megan exhibited any of the side effects of treatment? Why had she vanished so suddenly without warning any of us? What was she running from? After the clean break from her old life, there were no more Facebook posts about juicing. My mom never got her book back. I often wonder if Megan told me this story about Sarah to gauge my response. Maybe Sarah did have cancer after all, and Megan was a one-line. The fact that I doubt her sickness at all torments me. I try to remember the story how I hope it actually was before the unshakable ambiguity. But any time my college friends get back together, one of us inevitably lets the forbidden thought escape aloud. Did she? Thank you.